Okay, I think we are live. And please, please, please keep me up to date. If this live stream starts lagging, if the quality falls off, you got to let me know. We are trying out a couple different things here, but I really think this will improve our live streams overall. And yeah, we are going to be going through and getting some Dynasty rookie mock drafts going. Obviously, we've just had the combine, we've had a lot of updates for our overall Dynasty rookie rankings. Let me pull up, make sure these streams are okay. Looks like one should be good to go on Rumble. Looks like the other one on YouTube is doing well at the same time. So perfect. We're getting multiple live streams going. And I know we usually post these on Patreon. We usually post these on locals for the links to get in. Well, I apologize, but that's not going to be the case for this one. I have so many things going on with this computer right now that I just got to get this going. So I'm going to grab the link for this mock draft for everybody that's subscribed to the channel. It's going straight out just in the general chat. We're not posting it on Patreon. We're just going to be posting it right here in the YouTube chat. And we got a lot of people: Jeb, Ashton, Piano, Chimichanga, Jonah, Andrew, French Toast, Donald, all out in the chat. Okay, perfect. We got that popping up on the other screen as well. I think this will be a pretty good live stream. We're going to get a decent amount of drafts underway here. We already have some people joining. That link can be found in the live chat. We have about 50 people watching this live stream, so it should fill relatively quickly. And of course, I have to say this. If you have not dropped a like in the video, if you have not dropped a like in the live stream yet, please make sure you do that ASAP. And for this draft, I'm going to be drafting right in the middle. I didn't want to pick at the end, but at the same time, I wasn't going to do it to y'all to give me a pick at the beginning. So I'm going to be taking the 106, and I think we should be good to just go ahead and start the draft. Let me see if I can actually expand this window out. I believe so. Okay, so perfect. And at this point, of course, it's going to be a 12-team super flex rookie mock draft. There's no debate. Brees Hall is the 101. If you think that you can get cute, go somewhere else with the 101. I'm sorry, you were wrong. I mean, I even had the receivers at that 101 selection before the NFL Combine, but Brees Hall came out, dominated, and with his official size, his official athletic testing, and the production, and more importantly, receiving production that we had at Iowa State, Brees Hall looks like he's an Ezekiel Elliott level running back prospect. I know this running back class is bad overall, but Brees Hall is definitely the exception. And now we are going to be up on the clock, and I put us right outside the top 5 players. As of now, it looks like there's going to be that tier of 5 options with Malik Willis as the clear quarterback one. There being a tier of 3 receivers, and you can take them in pretty much any order that you want. Now, here, I know a lot of people are probably going to be screaming for me to go with Kenneth Walker. My issue with Kenneth Walker is I just don't necessarily see the receiving game ability that he could have. I don't see it in the range of outcomes for him to be a running back that doesn't leave the field on third downs. For that reason, I'm actually going to go off the board a little bit here. I'm going to end up taking Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett, Mac Rowell, pretty much the same exact guy up until I know a lot of people want to say, oh, well, Kenny Pickett in the hand size. You know what? I'm sorry. I have to change this. If I make that selection, I'm just embarrassing myself. We're taking Matt Corral. I apologize. We got too many things going on. Obviously, with Kenny Pickett, the hand size, the draft capital should go down just slightly. Not that big of a deal at all. Joe Burrow had small hands as well. Matt Corral is slightly more rushing upside. So if these two quarterbacks are going to be drafted in a similar range of the NFL draft now, which we weren't expecting previously, I think that clearly the pick should be Matt Corral over Kenny Pickett at this point, but you prefer Malik Willis for the rushing upside. I'm not going to be able to take Kenneth Walker, as we've said, because I'm worried about him not being able to get on the field on third down. We had some people in the comment section going, well, Mason, were you worried about Jonathan Taylor in the receiving game? He wasn't a great receiving running back in Wisconsin. No, we weren't worried about Jonathan Taylor in the receiving game because he was a very good receiving running back in college. If you look at his college team target share, Wisconsin didn't throw the ball a lot, so Jonathan Taylor didn't draw a lot of targets out of the backfield, but he still was able to go over 10% of his team's college targets his final season there at Wisconsin, where Kenneth Walker was hovering around 5%. Jonathan Taylor was a great receiving running back. Clearly, based on everything we have shown, Kenneth Walker does not profile to be that. Okay, so we got Walker going at the 110. Completely fine with this. I think that, I mean, I have Kenneth Walker over Isaiah Spiller, with Isaiah Spiller skipping the 40-yard dash and also his size measurables not being great. I would be fine taking Kenneth Walker over Isaiah Spiller over Chris Olave as well. Chris Olave is my wide receiver 4. George Pickens, I am personally not going to rank Pickens here. I think, in my opinion, I'm going to be taking Dotson over Pickens, and I would probably take Jameson Williams as well. But I'm not going to argue with anybody taking Pickens. My issue is when people think that they can get cute and all of a sudden begin to take someone like George Pickens over, Chris Olave. And I'm going to have to pause this draft real quick to actually, can I flip this around? I guess not. I apologize. It looks like we are going to be going through and, oh, this is frustrating. The next draft will be much better. As I said, we had so many different things going on in this live stream that I'm all over the place. We'll get another link out in the live chat for everybody subscribed to the channel so we can get one that's linear. So the draft board is going to look a little bit better, of course. I mean, still the same exact content, the same exact situation. Obviously, none of your rookie drafts should be a snake draft. Just accidentally set this up wrong. Did not change the sleeper defaults. I apologize for that. Doesn't really affect us because we're picking at the 206 anyway. And also, I just upgraded our Wi-Fi. So hopefully these live streams are fine now. I was wanting to stream to multiple places at once to kind of just expand the flock. We've tried doing it before and just everything went to hell. That's why I'm a little flustered right now. Just trying to get this process down and make sure that we are not having any lag, make sure that the quality stays up. So please let me know how this live stream looks for y'all. Okay, so now let's see David Bell off the board. Rashad. Okay, so we get boxed out of a tier here. I really was wanting to see White fall to us, obviously, with the receiving game upside. Let me pull up my actual rankings real quick. I mean, of course, you can find these over there on Locals, which the description does have that link. But let me see who we have, because once we see White and David Bell go off the board, I feel like we are in a very difficult position to be in, where Carson Strong should be that late round 1, early round 2 NFL quarterback draft pick. And even if he does get to start at the next level, it's not like we can guarantee that you're actually going to be jamming him into your own starting lineup. I'm going to just draft Carson Strong here, because if we are getting a quarterback in the middle of the second round that can eventually start games at the next level, I mean, we would almost be able to immediately flip him for a profit at this price point. It's not that I love Carson Strong by any stretch of the imagination. It's that we are really hoping that we are getting one of these guys, not named Desmond Ridder, fall into us at the 207. So I'll be fine taking Strong here. I can easily see the argument for Trey McBride as well. Okay. So Matthew says, I'm going whatever quarterback goes to the Steelers. I think the Steelers probably are one of the best landing spots. I think I have to be with you on that one. Okay, so Sky Moore at the 210. Obviously, Sky Moore with the great combine numbers, but doesn't really matter too much for the receiver position. And I want to reiterate, Dwayne Eskridge at the same school was a better player in pretty much every way you can break it down. Not to mention that Dwayne Eskridge was also an elite level athlete. Not necessarily saying that I love Dwayne Eskridge, but just saying don't have your expectations sky high on Sky Moore. This is a player that played at a small school and was dominated by Dwayne Eskridge at that same program. Zamir White at the 301. Fine with the Zamir White selection. He's pretty much a poor man's Kenneth Walker. Zamir White was a highly ranked running back coming out of high school, if y'all remember. I mean, Texas and really everybody there really wanted him. Okay, so now we're going to take either James Cook or Brian Robinson. If you're looking at our rankings right now, I do have Brian Robinson higher. Obviously, with Brian Robinson, the issue is this is a running back that stays all 5 years at Alabama. This is a running back that really, I think we can say has a limited ceiling. I don't think it's in the range of outcomes for him to turn into Alexander Madison, but maybe he could be Khalil Herbert. Maybe he could be a running back that if he lands in the right situation and there were injuries in front of him, then all of a sudden he could step into a 3-down role in that offense. So let's take Brian Robinson here at the 306. Yeah, he stayed 5 years at Alabama, but you had Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris, Najee Harris there the entire time with him. So what was he supposed to do? Jerome Ford was actually at Alabama as well, ended up having to transfer. Okay, so Andrew says, wondering if I'll be able to land Kyron in the early to mid third in a 10-team superflex, but I think that'll be draft capital dependent. Oh yeah, Kyron Williams, if you want to take him at the beginning of third, he'll probably be there for you. Kyron Williams, if that number is correct, where he ran the 4.740, he's dead. Like I understand a lot of people want to say, oh, the combine doesn't matter. Look at Jarvis Landry at the combine. Look at Antonio Brown's 40. That's like me saying, oh, draft capital doesn't matter. The greatest player of all time, Tom Brady, was selected in the 6th round. You can always find outliers, but that's not what you should be chasing. Like, if we just look at pretty much the long list of running backs that ran that time at that speed, do you know how many examples of players you could find that failed compared to actually succeeded? You can go and cherry pick the Arian Foster and say, oh, well, look at Arian Foster. He did fine. Oh, do we really need to worry? No, look at the greater sample. Look at every player that we've seen over the past 10 years. If you look like Kyron Williams over the past 10 years with your testing, your ceiling's Devin Singletary, essentially. I'm sorry to say it. Okay, but let's switch this back over. Hopefully this next draft, we are going to do a better job with. I will post this link as well in the live chat for everybody subscribed to the channel. And again, I apologize for being all over the place. This should not be the case going forward. Usually we're fine with these live streams, but let's get this as a linear draft. And this time I'm taking the 105. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the pick that I think most people should be trying to trade up to at this point. Let me grab a link for anybody who wants to come in. This is going to be another 12-team Superflex tight end premium. Just sent that link out in the YouTube chat. Okay, so Nate Johnson says, Mason, who's your number 1 tight end at the moment? Thoughts on Jalen Weidemeyer? Jalen Weidemeyer, has a very, very bad issue with his decision-making capability. The same thing that we talk about with Isaiah Spiller, for instance. If you want to go to a school in Texas and you want to get a good education, why are you going to A&M? Hook 'em horns. Go to the University of Texas. But beyond that, 6'6", this is a monstrous tight end that was able to be productive in his offense at an early age in the SEC. So I like Jordan Weidemeyer. I don't think we can have him, however, as the tight end 1 in this class, but he's still definitely a very appealing option. Okay, so let's get this draft going. I believe we'd have to click this button here. Okay, clearly not. Did we get it this way? Okay, I think that possibly. We'll figure this out. I'll be better about this in the future. But you got Treylon Burks, Drake London at the 101, the 102. Breece Hall falls. This should never happen. I am someone who had Treylon Burks, who had Drake London, ranked ahead of Breece Hall before the NFL Combine. But this is, I promise you, if you were making this decision here, which I was doing literally 3 days ago, and I'm holding my L, but that was before we had, every piece of information we needed. If you were making this decision still to have Treylon Burks, to have Drake London before Breece Hall, this is how you ruin a dynasty team. Breece Hall, at this moment, I have a video coming out tomorrow, exactly how valuable he should be in dynasty. I was trying to convince Jan to take Breece Hall with me in yesterday's startup in the middle of the 2nd round of a startup draft. Like, he's legitimately, it's like taking Ezekiel Elliott his rookie season. Zeke was a better prospect. I will give him that. But it's along the same lines. He's a 3-down running back. He has the size to handle 20-plus touches. He did so in college. He has the receiving game capability. He has the elite athletic profile and the size-adjusted athleticism as well. I believe he should be trending towards being that late round 1 NFL draft pick at this point. He's not the prospect Zeke was, but from a workload standpoint of what he should have right when he gets to the NFL, it's not going to be the same. Obviously, it's exaggerating. It's hyperbole with Ezekiel Elliott, but It's along those same lines. You know that he's going to be a player that gets a massive bump in value right away. Okay. So now we have Matt Corral at the 109, Chris Olave at the 108. Interesting. Not many drafts are going to look like this. I mean, based on the YouTube comment section I've been looking at, a lot of drafts, at least a lot of drafters are telling me, oh no, Mason, you got to go George Pickens. You have to take George Pickens at this 108 range. In my opinion, it's Chris Olave. I mean, with Chris Olave, I don't really care nearly as much about his 40-yard dash time as I would with a player like Breece Hall. But if we are looking at Chris Olave, it's just, this is a receiver that was hyper productive at 19 years old at Ohio State with, Garrett Wilson and Jameson Williams on the same roster. He accounted for a higher percentage of his team's offense at 19 years old at Ohio State with more target competition than George Pickens had ever done at Georgia. Yes, George Pickens got injured. And yes, it's entirely possible that George Pickens is better than Chris Olave at the next level. It's definitely in the range of outcomes. But is it the most likely outcome? Probably not. I would say, if anything, it's unlikely. George Pickens at the 202. Love getting George Pickens at the 202. This is pretty much exactly where I have him ranked in our Dynasty rookie rankings. I know he's one of the most polarizing players you're going to find. I know pretty much nobody's taking Dotson over him. Nobody's taking Williams over him. He definitely has the ceiling to be a top 3 wide receiver in this draft class. It's just, you're projecting a lot and not really looking at any concrete data points, where I'm fine taking George Pickens late round 1, early round 2. It's just whenever he slides into this range, that's where I'm going to have my issue. Carson Strong at the 203, as I've already discussed. I think that he is a player that if you're getting him in the middle of the second round here, you could get the immediate flip. Now, we're going to be looking at 2 options. We're going to be looking at David Bell and Rachaad White. I think I kind of want to take White. If we look at his size and his testing, to combine that with his receiving game capability, he could essentially be a little bit of a beefed up Nyheim Hines, where this is a running back that probably doesn't have an enters range of outcomes to ever become a top 5 option overall, top 10 running, I guess. Based on what we have seen with some guys like Aaron Jones, primarily drawing their value off the receiving game and their touchdown upside, maybe he is, I don't want to go as that far. I'm going to go Rachaad White here. I'm a lot more excited about him now than I previously was. Let's take him here at the 205. Okay, so Nath says a 40-yard dash is overrated. Not often do you run a 40 in a straight line on an NFL field. Cone drill may be my go-to combine time. My friend, have you done any actual historical analysis on how 3-cone times affect NFL success at the next level compared to 40-yard dash times? I'm completely fine if you have that hypothesis, but until you prove it over a larger sample, which we've already done, we've showed this at receiver, 40-yard dash times doesn't matter. Quarterback doesn't matter clearly. At running back, it is highly predictive. So if you can come back and if you can prove with numbers that the 3-cone time matters more, and that's what we need to be focusing in on, I'm completely fine to hear you out. But size-adjusted athleticism with their speed, that's going to be something I'm focusing on instead, because we've proven how it does matter over the long haul. Okay. So and I guess we can also start clicking on these. I forgot. That's a big reason why we decided to do this. Okay, so David Bell goes to the 209. David Bell was a player that I was literally making fun of people for drafting at the beginning of the offseason. We said a lot of dumb things at the beginning of the offseason, and we knew that Dynasty rookie value was going to change heavily, which we let that disclaimer out. Keep in mind, this is someone that was overrating Isaiah Spiller definitely at the beginning of the offseason. I'm fine taking that L. But I feel like I went from being a David Bell hater when people were taking him before Chris Olave to where now I love this value of David Bell at the 209. It's kind of crazy to see how far we've come, but to be getting David Bell behind Justin Ross, another player. Ross and Pickens look identical to me. If you're looking at Justin Ross, yes, we don't have a complete profile based on the injury, but he's a wide receiver that was neck and neck with pretty much identical production to T. Higgins when Justin Ross was a true freshman, younger than T. Higgins with Trevor Lawrence in that Clemson offense. In my opinion, Justin Ross, his freshman season is more impressive than what George Pickens had. Now, of course, Ross, he has a more serious injury concern, And I think for that reason, clearly you should have Justin Ross ranked behind George Pickens, but it's just weird to see Justin Ross, another wide receiver with an incomplete profile, going ahead of David Bell. Like, y'all know I used to be that David Bell hater, but I feel like if anything, maybe if he continues to fall down draft boards where he's going at the 209, I guess I'm higher on David Bell than a lot of people. We got Brian Robinson, Sky Moore going off the board. Okay, so I think, in my opinion, this has been by far and away the best draft. You're never going to get Brees Hall at the 103 in another one of these. I can guarantee you that, but still. Okay, so now we are on the clock. I think I'm excited to release this. One thing that I've been spending way too much time on, literally hundreds of hours I've spent this offseason, is with our Dynasty research book, where I've gone through and I've looked at historical hit rates for rookies at different parts of the draft. We've already talked about this slightly. I previewed it in one of the videos. One thing that I did learn is usually in the third round, it's a much better idea to be taking shots on receivers rather than it is at running back. Don't ask me why. We'll prove it with numbers later this offseason when we release that book officially. So I'm sitting here going, okay, maybe Jerome Ford would be my top running back at this range. Let's take Weidemeyer. Let's go with him. We talked about this being a 12-team tight end premium format. I think Weidemeyer will be a day 2 NFL draft pick. I think that this is a player that most likely won't produce year 1, as you should be expecting with most tight ends. But, I mean, maybe he falls in that Cole Kmet range where, no, he's not going to be, comparable to Cole Kmet on the field. Cole Kmet is half his size, but with Weidemeyer, this may be someone that the Dynasty community drafts with the expectations that he's not going to be productive year 1. And then really, if he shows anything whatsoever, he's going to be able to maintain that value, where I'd be worried about him if we were taking him at the 205 instead. But 305, I'm fine with that value. As I said, I'm off Kyren Williams. Let me pull up the official numbers for Kyren Williams and just really look at this, because those red flags are too much to pass up on. Okay, so it is a much better mark now than it initially was whenever we thought he ran the 4.72, and that was initially reported, but still 4.65 40-yard dash, and he weighs 194 pounds. You're hoping for Devin Singletary. You're hoping for Devin Singletary. I'd say Devin Singletary in rookie drafts is going a lot higher than this, though, because the film community loves getting behind some guys that will make defenders miss in the box. Okay, Tolbert going here. I like Tolbert. Issue small school, stays all 4 years, but he was hyper productive at that small school. Okay, so Tig Bryan says Christian Watson will be going higher when a rookie draft season comes around. Yeah, no, Watson is a player that I've had a lot of people in the comment section telling me that I'm too low on. Maybe this is something I need to revisit. Of course, an elite level athlete runs the 4.36. If I'm pulling up his production profile, he was also dominant. But the issue is small school. He's also an older player, stayed all 4 years, going to be 23 at the start of his rookie season. But that's similar to, I believe, Kenny Golladay had that same exact profile. Kenny Golladay had the size, obviously, had the athleticism. I think he stayed all 4 years at his small school as well. I could be mistaken with that, however. Okay. So Jerome Ford at the 310. Really like this Jerome Ford draft pick. Yes, he doesn't break out those junior season, but his freshman and sophomore year he spent at Alabama on the same roster as Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, Damian Harris, and Brian Robinson. So Jerome Ford, it would make sense that he actually has to transfer. He has to wait to break out. And I'm fine telling us that story at the 310 if that's going to be the price point. But I think we can maybe cut the drafts here for a little bit. Let me just ask y'all your opinion on anything y'all want to talk about rookies. We did this over on Locals the other day as well, but let's just kind of hang out. I don't really have much to do right now, and this was extremely difficult to get this live stream even up and running. So actually, while we're live, let me pull this up on my phone to make sure that we look okay. I want to make sure this isn't lagging. Okay, the quality's okay. Could be better. Okay, so and Nate says if you run under 4.6 in the 40, it's fast enough, in my opinion. 100%. This is something that I've proven. If you run 4.60 at the wide receiver position, you don't have to be worried. If you are a receiver that wins with just your big playability and working routes deeper downfield. This is the James Washington coming out in that 2018 class out of Oklahoma State. I mean, he won the Biletnikoff. He was a great receiver there with Mason Rudolph. But the issue is he was seen as a deep threat guy. So he goes to the NFL Combine. He posts the 40-yard dash time that doesn't have him in line with Deshaun Jackson. He's not proven to be one of the faster wide receivers in that class. Looks like he's one of these slower options. For a receiver like James Washington, that is a massive red flag, and it makes him almost undraftable, because how are you going to tell me that a wide receiver going out there that's supposed to be running verticals down the field that doesn't have elite speed, is he that good at winning at the catch point where he's going to be able to go overcome that? Whereas with Amon-Ra St. Brown, y'all know I'm saying to sell Amon-Ra St. Brown now, but I mean, we were willing to overlook the lack of speed and his NFL draft capital last offseason. I don't want to pretend like I was telling everybody to draft Amon-Ra St. Brown. That wasn't the case, but we acknowledged the red flags, and we said, in this case in particular, it doesn't matter nearly as much because he profiles to be the slot wide receiver that's running routes closer to the line of scrimmage where you don't need speed to win. And at the same time, NFL offenses are inherently going to value that player less than someone that can take the top off the defense in someone like Dwayne Eskridge going in the second round that has the elite speed, someone like Tutu Atwell. So understanding the 40-yard dash time, there are a lot of different variables with it, which is why you can always find the outlier. You can always find, oh, look at Jarvis Landry. Look at him running a 4.7. Come on. That's like me saying, oh, look at Tom Brady. He went in the 6th round. We can ignore draft capital. Please, please, please. Let's not chase outliers here. But still, I mean, the 40-yard dash time clearly is not everything, and it really needs context behind it to understand it. Okay, so Freak Stopper says, so Breece Hall over Burks to the 101 now. What changed? Okay, so Breece Hall, I don't think y'all realize exactly how dominant his combine performance was, because I was slightly concerned that he was going to potentially come out and have a BMI of 28.9, because if you look at what Iowa State listed him as, his BMI was like 29, 28. It was like 28.9, something along those lines, which was a possible red flag that he wouldn't be able to hold up for 20 plus touches at the next level based on what we've historically seen. But we know that those college teams, they never really report the exact height and weight. They want to make their players look better. So they're like, oh, Breece Hall, you're 6'1". Okay, so that's the first thing. He comes in and he has a BMI over 30, 5'11", 217. He was the same weight they listed him at, but he was shorter with that weight, so a stockier build. And he goes out there, and what we're hoping for, come on, just give us a 4.5. Just give us a 4.5. That's the expectation. For a player with that BMI, 217 pounds, to run a 4.39 40-yard dash, if you look at his historical comparables, and if you look at just his production at Iowa State with that size-adjusted athleticism, which does matter at the running back position, it does not really matter at receiver, but it does at running back. There's almost no way that Breece Hall flames out. There's almost no way. I don't want to speak too much on it because I have a video coming out tomorrow that really dives into it. It's 20 minutes on how damn good Breece Hall is and why he's a top 5 dynasty running back now, coming from someone who was an idiot and didn't have him ranked in the top 3 rookies overall in this draft class. But now it's not that Breece Hall is the 101. It's that Breece Hall is the 101, and there's a massive gap for the next player. Please, please, please watch the video tomorrow. I mean, we're talking about that in depth. Jayan says, if Bijan Robinson runs a 4.6 or higher, he's not doing that. He's not doing that. Okay, Gabe says, Mason and Jayan, you're on the clock in the Flock 21 startup draft. Ooh, okay. So let me pull this up if y'all want Jayan and me to argue about a startup pick right now. Let me show y'all this startup. Actually, I'm going to wait because I want to make a video on this. We'll do that at a little bit of a later date. Okay, so Jerry says, team dependent. Burks is still an elite level prospect. AJ Brown type of wide receiver, great player to build around with a longer shelf life. Okay, one thing that I hate people talking about at this point of the offseason is I understand we are just so far away from ever submitting a starting lineup that we're thinking that we're building our dynasty teams for 10 plus years down the road. Breece Hall is 20 years old. If a running back falls off at 27, which that's the age right now, you got Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara. I mean, those are those running backs that are still at the peak, still going very high in dynasty startups, still round one redraft picks. Are we really concerned that the receiver will last until 28, 29 and the running back's going to fall off at 26, 27? No, we shouldn't. We should be not be worried about that whatsoever. Okay. I think that should be it for this live stream. We got a couple mock drafts underway. I don't want to sit here and just turn this into a Q&A. We'll definitely get another Q&A going a different time. But thank you, of course, for being a part of the flock. Hopefully this live stream lived up to the quality of the other ones. I know we had some issues at the beginning, but if you haven't done so already, for the love of God, go down there, drop a like on the live stream, subscribe to the channel. We had 2 mock drafts at the very beginning of this. If y'all want to go check those out. And I guess I can grab y'all the link. No, I'm not going to bother. If y'all want to check out our rookie rankings, if y'all want to actually access some more free content as well, you can do that over there on Locals. I believe it's flock.locals.com. If you want to check that out, links are in the description as well. I think that should be it. Hope you have a great day. Hope we can see you out with the video tomorrow where I really hype up Breece Hall and just I want to become the Breece Hall guy. I wasn't before, but I'm trying to rebrand. So let's go all in on Breece Hall. Have a good day, guys, and hope that we see y'all tomorrow.